My name is Craig Picken. I'm an executive recruiter. More than a decade ago, I started my practice for one purpose: to use my experience as a former military aviator, business jet sales executive, and P&L leader to help aviation and aerospace companies and their executives be fast, adaptable, and strategic. I do these podcasts to inspire and inform, but more importantly, they are a focused platform to help business leaders grow. Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. Hey, welcome back to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. I am really thrilled to have Marc Drobny with me. Marc is an old friend. He is the president of StandardAero's Business Aviation division. Marc and I first met about 8 or 9 years ago when he was senior executive and president of executive jet management. He's a former Navy F-18 naval aviator turned business executive. So, hey, Marc. Welcome on. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
So how's the transition from charter management, being the president of EJM and charter management, and moving down to StandardAero and taking over the strategy of that entity working for you?
Yeah, it's been really great. In fact, it's only been like 2 or 3 days. I crossed my 2-year anniversary here with StandardAero. I was just telling someone the other day, it feels like it's been about 3 or 4 months. It's been so busy. But that's the nature of things. As we get older, time flies, right? It's been a great opportunity, a great ride for me. Transition has been fantastic. Like I was at EJM, here at StandardAero, blessed with a phenomenal team, surrounded by great people. Folks that just are really, really engaged in the business. Very, very strong culture, very committed to taking care of our customers. So, I didn't come into one of these turnaround situations where things were a mess. I was joining a team in a business that was really going well and on a positive trajectory. So I just jumped on board for the ride and, continue to try to do my part to take us to even better heights.
What was the strategy? I mean, I can't believe it's been 2 years you've been there either. I mean, it seems like yesterday, but what was the strategy? I mean, what was the overall, when you first walked in the doors and you kind of looked around, what direction did you think you needed to take the group and the overall strategy?
Yeah, kind of that classic scenario of a quick assessment. The people talk about the 90-day plan. You really get the lay of the land, understand what our strengths and weaknesses are, how to maximize the strengths, minimize the weaknesses. Really look for opportunity for us to expand the business, make things better, grow the portfolio. About a year ago, StandardAero was acquired by the Carlyle Group, and so we've gone from one private equity owner to the other. Business continues to be extremely growth focused, which is a great thing to be a part of, right? It's not a matter of trying to just manipulate cost to squeeze earnings out of business. It's really incredibly growth focused. So how can we invest in what we're doing, and find ways to do more? And so initially I would describe it as StandardAero, particularly the business aviation portfolio, has been sort of the same amalgamation of facilities and organization for better part of 30, 40 decades, a couple of different 30, 40 years, a couple of different names involved. Once upon a time, trace our roots back to Garrett Aviation.
Right.
We have been challenged to get out of a mode of thinking that we have been in for a long time, that has served us really well for decades. But for example, the biggest piece of the StandardAero Business Aviation portfolio for a long time has been TFE 731 engines. And, most prolific engine platform in business aviation. It's been a great product for us, but that has reached its peak and is just going to be declining. And so we've when I came on board, we were sort of partway through the strategy of, okay, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
And so continuing to take that approach of how do we modernize, how do we expand the things that we're involved in, and really take a look at where we want to be 5 or 10 years from now, put those things in place now to start making transition of the business that direction. So even before I got on board, StandardAero was selected, for example, as the exclusive provider of HTF 7000 family heavy services, the only authorized heavy MRO in the world for Honeywell. And that's been a gigantic platform for us. It's probably 3 years ahead of where we anticipated it would be in terms of volume, really skyrocketing. There's, what are there, 3,000 plus HTF engines out there. And so that's been one very obvious thing that we've been investing in. But even beyond that, looking at the platforms we service, we're an authorized service center for both Dassault and Embraer, and even for the products where we're not an authorized service center, our approach is always to be very OEM aligned, and making sure that we're tied into where the OEM views us as a part of their service portfolio, and making sure we're tied in and conducting our business in a way that fits for them. Because we find that if folks try to go rogue and go alone and counter what the OEMs are doing, makes it very, very difficult to run a successful business. There certainly is opportunity out there for things like PMA and whatnot, but it's just not really the strategy for us. We find that OEM alignment works really, really well for us. So how can we continue to add capabilities, add people, add facilities, add authorizations, whatever the case might be, to continue to build the portportfolio?
Yeah. Well, you got the facility up in Springfield, which
That's right.
Is full from what I hear. It's been full the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You got Augusta, Georgia.
That's right.
And then Houston.
That's right.
And all those guys are full right now. I mean, you're continuing to see some solid business trends.
Yeah, we're extremely busy right now. Not only did we come into 2020 with a very full pipeline and strong demand, but ever since COVID has kicked off, it has really strengthened interest for folks to bring airplanes in and get work done. So you get months and months of backlog, very, 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 very full schedules and order boards, which is a great place to be. There are other parts of the aviation industry who are really, really concerned about what the future is going to look like, and rightly so. You see the volumes in terms of airline activity right now, just a shadow of what they were just a couple of weeks ago, and that's going to have reverberations for a long time. Hopefully, we can all get through it quickly and get through the pandemic and get back to life sooner rather than later. But right now in business aviation, super, super busy, and I think being invested in the right places and the right capabilities and all of that is super helpful. But right now, man, people are pounding on our door to get in tomorrow.
Is it mostly the 91 operators, or is it 135 and you have the 91K guys, the net jets and the flex jets?
It's everybody, really. The fleet operators tend to take a different view, and they're looking at things from a whole fleet perspective versus just a single airplane, of course. But everyone's taking advantage of a little bit of pause in op tempo to get work done, from small things that need taken care of, light refurb that has just been nagging somebody to, multi-million dollar, 3-month long inspections, refurbs, repaint, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, part of the reality is a lot of aircraft things are calendar driven, and no matter what you're doing with flight hours, right, those things have to get done. I think things that are truly, cycle and hour driven will eventually see an impact from, this downturn, however long that lasts. So we all got to be prepared for that. But right now, things are jamming.
Yeah. So what's going on? So you just started your engine exchange.
Yep.
And you talked about, the TFEs are going out. Obviously the JT15Ds are kind of phasing out too.
Yep.
Some of your older PW300 series engines are probably, tell me about the engine exchange and how that's working, and, what's the strategy there?
Yeah, it's probably something that we'll take great credit for being super smart, but it's really the market that asked us to go this direction, right? As aircraft are aging out, and getting toward the end of their reasonable life, you can continue to breathe life into these airplanes as long as you want to throw money at it. But at some point, the money you've got to spend to keep an aircraft airworthy just doesn't make sense relative to what the remainder of the asset's worth. So customers are coming to us saying, "Hey, how can you help me make this more affordable?" A $600,000 overhaul on a pair of engines just doesn't make sense on an aircraft that's probably got $1 million worth of value in it.
Right.
And in some cases, I mean, particularly with big engine events, you can see engine overhauls that are more expensive than the entire value of the existing airplane. So the market really came to us and said, "Hey, we're looking for alternatives here. How can you help us out?"
Right.
And that's what really got us into the engine exchange business. And it's something we've probably gradually gotten into over time. But as market demand increases, we say, "Look, this is something we got to be a little bit more deliberate about." So now we're out there buying inventory of engines prospectively, right? Trying to have stock so when somebody has a need, as well as continuing to find opportunities where someone says, "Hey, I need a pair of TFEs. I'm trying to keep this airplane flying for another 400 or 500 hours. Can you go find me some replacement engines?" And so then, we're into our network of folks that have come to us and said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell," and we can be the connection point, right? We're sort of the marketplace when it comes to making those connections. And that also gets into rentals, right? We've got pretty extensive rental engine inventory that we utilize to support either retail customers or power by the hour customers when they have an engine event coming in that it's going to take a while. We can keep the airplane flying. And so as we get more involved in the engine exchanges, that creates opportunities for us to buy rental engines as well. We're even into consignment of engines where folks are saying, "Look, I've got some engines that I'm not going to be using, or I'm taking the airplane out of service. What can I do with these engines?" We say, "Gosh, maybe we don't want to front the inventory on it, but consign them over to us. We'll put them into rental service for us, and we'll give you most of the rental income." It's a great way for somebody who's got an asset they're not able to use to generate some money with. So
a lot of your operators that were already on, MSP or JSSI or Pratt Care,
yep,
something like that, how many of the people that are looking to exchange the engines are how many, what's the percentage of the fleet that's kind of running naked with no engine program at all?
Yeah, more than you would think. Particularly in some of the older engine platforms. Let's talk TFE, right? There's a significant what we would call retail marketplace. It tends to be in the older variants and in older aircraft where folks have let the power by the hour coverage expire, or when they acquired the airplane, it was already 25, 30 years old. It's just not worth the hourly coverage, and they're willing to take the risk on what it's going to cost to keep an engine flying. So I'd be lying if I made up a statistic for you, but it's significant. You know, it's thousands of engines, not just a couple hundred.
What are you out buying? You buying Tays and everything, or anything you can get a good deal on, or
pretty much everything. We're in the market for everything. You know, we're in the overhaul business on let's see, TFE 731, all the Pratt 300 variants, AE 3007, JT 15D, PT6, all the HTF variants. So obviously we're buying and selling those things, as well as all the APUs. And then, you know, we're also in the market on stuff that we're not doing overhauls on. So Rolls-Royce products like Tay and BR710. You know, we really want to serve the entirety of the market when it comes to be in the marketplace.
Yep.
And I think that'll probably expand over time. As you develop those connections from people who are interested in buying and selling, it helps to be the easy button.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel old now. I remember when the early serial number, when the Gulfstream 5 flew its first flight, I was at Gulfstream.
Yeah.
And you talk about the BR710s, and you know, now, hey, we're buying them to, you know, put out as a rental, or as a, we're buying them from end of life aircraft. I'm like, wow, that's what a difference a day makes, huh?
I know, we're old, man.
We're dinosaurs. That's all. That's all I can say. What about, so the, and the market demand for that, you see, and I mean, people coming to you saying, hey, look, how's that affecting all the end of life aircraft stuff? I mean, obviously now we've got ADS-B issues, got the mandates, which 9 months from now, a lot of airplanes turn into, pumpkins, or penguins, I should say. Yeah. They're grounded.
There have been a lot of aircraft retired already, and I think there will continue to be. So when you have mandates like that, it creates a cost burden to keep the airplane airworthy. You know, a lot of folks are going ahead and doing it, and you know, the OEMs have made great solutions for them, but it's just one more pebble on the scale, right? That may tip the scale in the favor of, all right, I'm going to park this thing, or you know, I'm going to replace it with something newer. And so, you know, that interest in retirement of aircraft actually feeds into, you know, the strategy on engine exchanges and tear down of aircraft and engines for used serviceable material, because it creates inventory, right? So it's actually a little bit of a high class problem that you have aircraft being retired. You know, it's, on one hand, it's taking aircraft out of service that otherwise might need maintenance and would be candidates for us to work on. At the same time, it's creating inventory for us for other programs like the engine exchanges, or use serviceable material for us to then put in an engine. And if you can use, you know, a turbine part that's got, you know, a lot of cycles left in it and is perfectly good to continue to use, that can be a more cost-effective solution for repair of an engine.
Sure. I mean, you see your earlier, you know, going back to the G5s, you see your early serial number G5s, your earlier serial number G4 SPs, and those airplanes are pushing, you know, well, going back to 1995, so 25 years old or more. And people are like, hey, look, I bought these pretty cheap. I don't want to put a new interior in them, but at the end of the day, hey, look, I'll, you know, just part it out and move on and move on to something else. Yeah.
You know, there are some creative folks who are taking, you know, a couple of airplanes to make one good one. We were involved in, I think, half a dozen purchases of aircraft over the last year. That really our eyes are on the engines, right? Most of the value for us is in the engines, the airframe. Tear down business isn't our core. Engines are our core. So, but there are partners that we have that we can work with to make use of the airframe parts or the airframe hulk while we're doing stuff with the engines. So it's going to continue to evolve and be a bigger and bigger piece of what we do.
You guys are, you're pretty novel in that. I mean, look, there's not that many companies out there. I know, Worthington Aviation, which is now not Worthington, it got acquired. They were doing some teardown stuff on some business jets, but there's really not, then you had Challenger Spares, which was Red Aviation, but I don't even think they're around anymore. You had a couple of those guys doing, Bombardier parts. The brokers or the owners, are you their first call? Hey,
That's our
I've got
goal.
this thing.
Particularly when it comes to things related to the engine or aircraft, where most of the remaining value is in the engines. I think that's where folks are seeing StandardAero really as the go-to marketplace, if you will, to understand what's the value that's in the engines, what's the opportunity to sell them or to rent them, or whatever else might be the case. Being that we are one of the biggest engine service companies in business aviation, I think that expertise and years in the market really are serving us well. Our parts and engine trading business has just blown up over the past 5 years, from single or low double-digit millions to being a greater than $50 million a year business.
Wow.
I mean, it's just tons of activity.
So along those lines, and I'm sure you're not stopping here. I mean, have you guys ever just thought about getting into the power by hour business too? Have you looked at that?
We've looked at it. We actually do have a power by the hour program on the JT15D. Generally speaking, we stay away from those because the OEMs, want to maintain control of it, and like I mentioned, our goal being OEM aligned. So we wouldn't do it unless it were something that OEM were interested in us stepping into the fold on. And in terms of non-OEM programs, there are alternatives like JSSI that provide those to the marketplace. So generally, I would say we probably won't get too deep in PBH unless it's a niche that the market's not serving.
Yeah, I got you. What about people? How's the, everybody talks about the industry and the people. And now I think this COVID thing may create some opportunities for companies to enhance their teams. What's the people business? What's the people side looking like for you?
Yeah, continues. Well, I would say up until a couple of weeks ago, continues to be very competitive and very strained. I've been saying for a couple of years now, the only thing that's going to change the dynamic here is some sort of market hit, some sort of recession. So it looks like COVID might be proving me prophetic. I don't think you'll see demand diminish a ton in business aviation, but certainly, airline demand is already slowing down, and you're seeing folks getting furloughed and all this sort of stuff. Whereas, 3 months ago, hiring was so competitive, and that competitive demand was really jacking up rates. Great for the technicians, right? Being able to command wonderful career opportunities and salaries, but making it super competitive and expensive for us. I think the airline demand is set to really get a bucket of cold water thrown on it here, and I think that'll change the nature of recruiting and hiring for the business aviation industry. That hopefully won't see a big downturn. But right now, man, we're still chugging along super strong. We're actually bringing on contractors right now to help handle some of the short-term demand, the short-term spike in demand. We've got, dozens of open requisitions for technicians still yet today. So yeah, we're going to continue to be on the hiring spree.
What is it? Is it avionics guys, A&Ps, a little bit of everything, sheet metal, a little everything? What's
a little bit of everything. I would say everything across the board. Some of the unique skill sets get constrained over time, at periods of time. Things like, aircraft paint. There are only so many folks in the world who are really truly good at aircraft paint. So that is an area where it can be challenging at times to find folks with the right skill set.
Mm-hmm.
So then you gotta train somebody up, and how long does it take to get them trained and really fully an expert at what they do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, straight up AMPs, avionics technicians, guys doing checkouts and installs, sheet metal, you name it. I can't think of a technical specialty that's not in high demand.
What's the goal? I mean, obviously, the goal is, hey, more is better. We want to be, more money, more customers, more, everything. What's the long-term goal? I mean, what's, you going to open up a couple more MROs? You going to partner up with the OEMs? What,
sky's the limit.
Without giving away too many of your secrets. Where do you want to take this thing?
Yeah, I mean, M&A is a strategy for us, so we're going to continue to be involved in inorganic growth, right? Acquiring businesses that fit within the StandardAero portfolio to expand the business, and then organic growth, continuing to evolve the product set, expand the facilities that we've got, making sure that we're making the best use of the real estate that we are in. Expanding our footprints into new locations certainly is an opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're pretty big in mobile services, and that's an area where we see just completely unmet need. All of the operators are chomping at the bit to have more service at the doorstep, whether it be in their hangar or someplace on the road that they need service done. So mobile continues to be a big piece of the strategy for us, engine as well as non-engine. Most of the mobile work we do today is really in service of engine care and feeding. And the more modern engines, I mean, you take a look at an HTF 7000, right? There's an incredible amount of work that we can do in the field, not in one of our service centers. It's incredibly difficult to ship all the tooling and get the people and equipment there to do it. So it's a difficult proposition, but can be done. I mean, we can pull the engine off and unstack it, take it apart, replace pieces, put it back together right there next to the airplane, and put it back on, and off we go. So, I think over time, that there's going to be less need to bring an aircraft into a facility to get engines taken care of. So we got to be smart with the market on that, and not just sit there fat, dumb, and happy with our arms crossed saying, "Come to us." Otherwise, you're going to be left in the dust as yesterday's solution. But at the same time, we know that there's just more capability to do things in a facility, like an engine test cell, right? Like we run engines that we do major service on across the test cell, even if it's not required by the OEM, just because we think that's the right way to take care of an engine. Well, if I'm doing a number 4 bearing change out in the field on a Challenger 300, I don't have the luxury of running the engine across the test cell before hanging it on the airplane, like I do back at our facility in Augusta. So, we're going to continue to prefer to do heavier stuff in our facilities where you've just got more people, more tooling, more equipment, and you got test cells. But the engine OEMs are designing these things to be able to be cared for in the field to large degree, as well as maintained on condition. That's right. Been a big change in the engine business, is going from scheduled inspections to on condition maintenance. And I think the industry is continuing to learn some lessons there, some very painful, about what's the right interval to get in and look at them. What does a good bore scope really look like? We've seen some engines that were previously bore scoped by somebody that maybe didn't quite have the expertise, and then the engine comes to us, or one of our guys gets a bore scope down it and goes, "Oh my God, look at the things we've found here." Mm-hmm. Was Stevie Wonder bore scoping this thing before? How did you not see some things going on?
Right.
So you gotta be careful with on-condition maintenance that that you really do it to a high degree. Otherwise, it's going to come and bite you. And something that should have been a small event turns into a $4 or $5 million repair. Or we've even seen folks who have HDF engines that are not on coverage have a catastrophic event where it's just not even worth repairing it. It becomes a throwaway, go buy a new one, because the repair is so costly because, major damage has happened. So,
and an HTF engine's got to be what, $3-4 million, I'm assuming.
Yeah. We kind of look at them about a $4.5-5 million price tag, brand new. Yep.
Wow. What what about pricing power? There's always been, in the MRO side of the house, it's always been a challenge. What are the operators willing to pay? The rates that you can get for your mechanics and stuff. StandardAero, some of your West Star, Duncan Aviation, or the major third party MROs. Obviously, you've got the OEM. Are you able to get some pricing power out there?
Yeah, scale matters, right? So when anything that you buy in the world that you can buy in bulk, you can get some pricing power on. So the bigger we are, the more that we do, the better we can create pricing opportunities that makes an advantage to the customer, where they can get the most advantageous pricing possible. Depends on the particular thing. There are some components and parts that are, the price just is what it is, no matter how much you buy. OEMs have pretty strong protection. That's their opportunity to preserve margin in the aftermarket. The one good thing about the engine aftermarket is the OEMs have been very supportive of third-party MRO like us. All of the OEMs work very, very well with us. It's not a competitive beat each other up kind of thing. They really look to us as a strategic partner, to fill the void in the aftermarket, keep customers happy. So very, very symbiotic, and it's a really healthy market.
What about on the completion side? I mean, obviously you guys do paint interior, refurbs, things like that. The OEMs, are they pretty forthcoming and willing to give the engineering data and the stuff you need to do that, and they're working with you?
Yeah, it depends on the OEM, and it depends on the event. I think almost all of the OEMs are trying to do more of their own aftermarket airframe service, and so we say, okay, let's not be a problem. Let's not compete with that. Let's figure out the right way that we can be part of your strategy.
Mm-hmm.
If you're an ASC, then if you're an authorized service center, then there are certain advantages to that. I think all of the OEMs are sort of throttling back on the number of folks they have as authorized service centers. It's tough for them to manage. They need to make sure that they keep quality high. So, the opportunities to be an authorized service center, I think, are getting harder and harder to maintain or get. So for us, it's just about making sure that we're in sync with what the OEMs are looking for, and like I said, not trying to go against the grain on what they're trying to achieve. And then, you asked about engineering. Again, as an ASC, you have pretty good access to engineering. If you're not an ASC, then it depends, right? And so you got to be careful to be an ally of the OEM, because that is intellectual property that they control. Yep. And even though there are folks in the world who will reverse engineer things and figure it out on their own, not really a strategy that we prefer to go down. We prefer it to be OEM aligned. We do a ton of STCs though, so we're out there. We have a whole team of engineers, and we are an ODA, and we have thousands of ODA members that we work with. So creation of new STCs and new engineering is a very big piece of StandardAero portfolio, something a lot of folks probably don't know a lot about.
Right.
The traditional thing that most people think of are new avionics, new connectivity solutions, things like that, which we're very, very involved in, very deep in. But we even do engineering STCs on airliners, right? Just because we have such a strong engineering group, you have airline OEMs, you have avionics OEMs coming to us saying, hey, can you help us engineer an STC for this particular box, this particular piece of equipment in Airbus 319? Sure, we can do that.
Right.
So it is a way for us to continue to build our expertise in portfolio.
Sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
I have. It's been a great home for me. StandardAero is a phenomenal company. Really, really great people. I'm really, really blessed.
You bullish on the industry moving forward?
I am. We're going to get through this COVID thing and get back to life as semi-normal. I think long term, that's a stimulus for business aviation. You think about anybody who's got the means or who's on the fence to fly privately. This COVID thing is going to create a shadow in people's mind for, I think, quite some period of time of, how much do I really want to be locked in a tube with 300 of my not so closest friends sharing recycled air, right? I think anybody who's got the means is going to prefer to fly privately, and so I think 91K and 135 is probably going to see a stimulus here. Mm-hmm. Does it push people into buying airplanes? Maybe a handful, but probably more so on the selective usage side. So the fractional guys and the 135 guys will probably see the first immediate impact here. Depending on what happens with the stock market, the whole industry is so highly leveraged to that. We'll see some culling of the market there, where folks say, look, it doesn't make sense for me financially anymore. I'm not feeling as wealthy as I used to. I'm just not gonna.
It's the nature of the beast.
Yep. But I think long term it's bullish for us.
I think so too. So will you come back in a few months and tell us how the engine exchange program's coming along?
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Let's do it. Hey, thanks for coming on today.
My pleasure.
Enjoy your Friday, and let's do it again soon.
All right, stay safe out there.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
I hope you enjoyed the latest edition of the Aerospace Executive Podcast. You can reach out to me directly, Craig at NorthstarESG.com, or check us out at www.northstaresg.com. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, or on YouTube. Just do a search for Aerospace Executive Podcast. Thanks again. I'm Craig Piven.